Ladies and gentlemen, that is the America we're living in. Rather than pay TSA and the essential workers that work at an airport, the person who's leading this nation would rather send in his personal security guard, TSA, to do nothing but make what is already a high pressure situation, even if TSA is there, the airport, even more high pressure by having these buffoon goons in the building. In this video, in this show, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other stupid stuff our president is doing. And let me give you guys an apology for being late. No excuses, but there is an excuse. And we'll get to that in a minute. I should be joined by a living legend. And if you know what I mean when I say that, you know who it's going to be. Let's get into this show.
I'm up early for the dealers come out. Everybody is outside till the killers come out. You ain't eating, you just act full. I'm impactful. Dozen funerals in a month. I got that full. I will give it to niggas in all rap forms. Ignatius out right now on all platforms.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are here, and I'm joined by my co-host, the living legend. He's a walking legend. Anytime this nigga show up, y'all know the stakes is high. It is my boy, Larry, the living legend. What's going on, homie?
Oh, man, how you feeling, man? I'm good. I'm good.
You know, I guess
high,
any
man.
day, yeah, I guess any day, Larry, when you're living in a hell on earth and you are surviving somehow, some way, you got to consider that a win. But it's frustrating to know that it shouldn't be this way. And again, I want to apologize to my audience for me being late. Kid situation, I apologize to Larry for being late. Forgive me for that, my brother. Time is important, and I don't want to hold you guys' time up because we need every minute we can to figure out how we can really get this country back on a good footing. And so, Larry, this is what I got for you tonight. Of course, we got to talk about TSA and them not working because they're not getting paid, and Trump using his personal security detail, sending ICE into the place to replace TSA, and they're not even trained to do that. We got that. Iran is trolling Trump, Larry. They're trolling Trump. They made a cartoon to troll Trump, ladies and gentlemen. I got that. I've also got Fox News, Larry. Larry, you're not going to believe this. Fox News is telling people that they should be willing to pay extra money at the pump because the shit is patriotic. We've got that.
Geez.
I'm not making this up, Larry. Larry. I promise you.
You
I'm
know
not
what?
making this up. I'm not making it up.
I wish Democrats were as petty as Republicans were, because you remember when Biden was in office and gas prices went up, and they had those stickers with Joe Biden with pointing at the gas. People would place them so that he was pointing over at the gas prices on the pumps, saying Biden did that or I did that or something to that effect. And I'm like, if Democrats were as petty as Republicans, there would be stickers everywhere, not just at gas pumps, but everywhere, talking about the raise. I've been looking at buying a new lens, legitimately a lens that was $1,600 a couple months ago is now $2,200. I mean, that is crazy. It's like that for all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's absolutely nuts.
And they don't realize it, Larry. They don't realize just how much fucking around in the Middle East can affect them. And on top of that, Larry, speaking of Democrats, did you know that our president said that the greatest threat to America is Democrats? I've got that. And last but not least, Larry, the voter ID bill, Trump wants that signed by Easter. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an absolutely packed show. But Buckley, if you're men and you're wearing blouses, tighten that shit on up. My ladies, if you're wearing jock straps, tighten it on up because we is about to get going. So Larry, let's go ahead and dive on into this with the ICE thing. And so, there's, the biggest reports today have been ICE is coming in to replace TSA, mainly because they can't get a bill done and Republicans stupidly continue to blame Democrats. But let's kind of look at what's been going on across America in these airports. Not to mention we had a plane that crashed at LaGuardia today. We got that too. It all ties together, in my opinion. Here we go.
I hope you're so proud of yourselves.
Bystanders at San Francisco International Airport Sunday night caught a moment where federal agents were seen manhandling a mother traveling with her daughter. This happened hours before ICE agents were officially deployed at airports all across the US to assist with TSA. According to the person that posted that video, that happened at the domestic terminal at SFO. The woman was with her daughter, who was reportedly a US citizen. The mother, however, could not prove that she was, so she was taken into custody. A spokesperson for the San Francisco International Airport tells TMZ, "We understand federal officers were transporting 2 individuals on an outbound flight when this incident occurred. We believe this is an isolated incident and have no reason to suspect broader enforcement action at SFO." The statement continues, "We were not involved in or notified in advance of this incident. Airport operations continued without disruption, and there was no impact to flights or passenger processing."
Operations continued as normal, Larry. Nothing in America is normal right now. Nothing. And for them to sit there and insult our intelligence by talking about shit is normal, just stop it. Floor is yours, Larry. Just stop it. Stop it.
You know what's crazy is that they're talking about, Trump is sending ICE agents in to help with TSA. SFO doesn't even have TSA. SFO uses private contractors. So it's just, it's crazy. It's just like, I mean, they said something in the story about they were there because they were transporting 2 individuals. Maybe they had a layover or something. I don't know. It just seems real odd and suspect. I don't know. But
it is suspect, Larry. You know it's suspect. This is just a power grab, an intimidation grab, and a way to say that and a way to keep blaming things on Democrats with the budget and TSA not being there, so that he can run around and say he done something. And Larry, I can basically tell you this. I was married to a doctor for 15 years. You do not send a heart surgeon in to work on somebody's kidney. You don't do it. You do not do it. Even though they are government officials, both of them, does not mean ICE can go do the same job TSA does. And on top of that, ICE already has a bad reputation with the public. Why are you sending these people in there with their guns and all that bull job, looking official, when all of them's probably the dorks underneath somebody's shoe? I give you the floor, Larry. What are we doing in this country?
I mean, I'll tell you right now, this is, to me, when I look at this, I think of this as just really, really dangerous. I mean, if I was a terrorist organization or a bad acting state, I would think this is a great time to target the US, because one, they've already shown that when they do these those stress tests on TSA and they try to get things through there, whether they be, weapons or explosives or drugs or whatever, they say the rate is something. It's like 80-something% people are able to get stuff through TSA undetected. And now you have fewer trained TSA agents there because they've quit or they're calling out sick. And then you want to bring in ICE agents who are completely untrained. I mean, these guys are, I mean, they're talking about they have 47 days of training or something, a lot of these new agents, and they're running around like these Yahoo cowboys that don't know what to do. They don't have any proper training in their own jobs, and now you want to send them to try and do somebody else's job. If I am a bad actor, I'm thinking this is the perfect time to take advantage of this situation. And instead, the US thinks this is a great time to advertise this weakness in our transportation system. It's just completely idiotic. I don't understand. Like, even if you were going to do this, like, maybe you sign them over, maybe you move them over to TSA and put them in some TSA uniforms. I'm not putting them in ICE uniforms and sending them over there. That's just like saying to some terrorist organization, hey, this wonderful, beautiful, soft target is manned by a bunch of untrained yahoos that don't know how to stop you. I mean,
that's all it is, Larry. And at the end of the day, this is just, for me, I think this is just more of the long play that they're trying to do. They're testing out how are people going to behave around ICE, because they're planning on sending them to the voting polls. And this is just a test to see kind of how they can mobilize these goons and buffoons to do it. And something that gets on my nerves, I know it's their job, but on any given day, you can quit your job if you feel like they're doing things that you don't like, that don't line up with your value system. I'm sorry to say this, Larry, but to see Black people and brown people standing there next to a white dude who hates their guts just makes me really, really mad. It just makes me really, really mad. Shit gets on my nerve.
This is the thing that, I don't know. Maybe the Republicans and the right are just not thinking long term, or maybe they have some grander plan or something. But this is all got, like, and a lot of them, when they talk about stuff, they talk about civil war. It's like they want a civil war.
They
it's
do.
Like they want to see Americans at war with each other, and they want to kill. It's like, I don't understand how they say they sit around and talk about themselves like they're patriots, but then they are constantly talking about a civil war. And for those who don't know, there have never, out of all the wars that we've ever fought, World War I, II, Korea, Vietnam, the War of 1812, the Korean War, all these wars, put them together, and we have not lost more Americans than we did in the Civil War. And
Never.
It will be that way again, because when you are at war with your neighbor, when you don't know if the person next to you in the grocery line is your enemy or not, or you are, you have to literally fight through to get from your house to your mother's house so that you can go save her. I mean, I know a lot of people in the US don't pay attention to international politics or geopolitics because we're insulated from it. They intentionally keep us ignorant of a lot of things. And unless you actively seek out news from foreign agencies, you miss a lot of this stuff. But if you have not seen the horrible images and the brutality that comes out of a civil war, I mean, there is, for most people, there's nowhere to run. And I know as Americans, when we get up there and complain about all these immigrants coming to our country and all these people here, well, oftentimes it's because they're fleeing internal conflict. What do you think is going to happen if all of a sudden there's a civil war? Do you think Mexico and Canada are going to be, do you think they're just going to be happy to take us all in? They're going to be accommodating for a short period of time. They're going to be compassionate. But when you have tens of millions of people flooding their country, they're going to be like, oh, hell no, you guys have to go somewhere else. And what do you think that's going to look like when you have these little white girls with blonde hair and blue eyes and sorority chicks in a refugee camp? I'm just saying, people don't understand what that looks like. And the thing is when you start talking about all these repressive measures that they have, it's just going to lead to violence. And I can tell you right now that when you start seeing people getting upset about Black folks doing stuff, and then you see people getting upset and taken to the streets when brown folks are being mistreated, how does the right think that when they want to call them violent liberals and anarchists and everything, how do you think those people are going to respond when every other day on the news it's not a picture of Lupe, or Eduardo, or
Lamont Tyson,
or Lamont Tyson, or somebody's abuela? It's not any of those people on the news getting dragged away. It's gonna be Sally. It's gonna be Becky. It's gonna be Allison.
And Karen.
It's gonna be all of them. It's gonna be that white chick that looks like your sister or your aunt or your wife or your daughter that's getting dragged away by these freaking Gestapo style bullies. And then what do you think? That you think everything is going to be peaceful? Then people are going to be like, hell no. It's not going to take a couple of those times before people are like, F that, we're fighting back, And I know that the right is on some crazy friggin', oh, we have all these guns. Do you honestly believe that people on the left, you honestly believe that Democrats don't own guns? I mean, every Democrat that I know owns at least one or two guns.
I got two.
know, I mean, it's insane. I mean, I might be the only one that I know who doesn't own a gun, but I can tell you this: I know how to shoot a gun. Military trained me how to shoot a gun, so I know if I know if I point my gun, I can hit what I'm aiming for. And this idea that we're all a bunch of snowflake, liberals, I think they're fooling themselves and trying to put themselves in some sort of mental place where they think, okay, we could do this. Not only should we do this, but we can do this, thinking that the pushback is going to be nothing but a bunch of mean girl words in a text, not realizing that there's going to be a lot of people out there in the streets fighting back. And when you're fighting back in your home, I mean, people fight differently when you're fighting for your home, because you're fighting for what's yours. You're not fighting for an idea of let's go and fight against communism, or let's go fight against fascism in somebody else's country, or let's go defend somebody else's rights. No, you're fighting for your own shit. And people fight with a different sense of urgency, a different sense of viciousness. It's a different story when that happens.
You guys let us know what you think, because you hear how we think about it, and it's straight bull jive. But the next story we're going to cover basically ties into TSA. And before I give you guys the story, let's fully understand, because we teach on this thing. Larry's basically a historian. You guys know I'm world-rounded. And let's just kind of teach you. Let's understand what we got going on here. So this is TSA. And the issues we're having with them is they're not getting paid. During the government shutdown, TSA agents are considered essential workers. That means they still have to work, but not get paid. People have been calling out, because who wants to be going? I think we're at about 2 months now, something close to it, without getting paid. That has caused long lines, long delays in airports. And Larry, I would say, do you think MAGA thought about this when they voted for Trump? No. Next, ICE is not replacing TSA, but they can assist. ICE agents are not trained to replace TSA. Larry just told y'all that. However, during emergencies, and this is not an emergency, other federal agents, including ICE, CPB, Larry just talked about that, can temporarily assist to help with security support. Keyword, assist. There is no TSA. Your ass don't need to be there. And let's further go into it. TSA funding versus ICE funding. Important distinction, Larry, because you do know Fox News people, I'm sorry, I just got to call it out. They're not that bright. They're not that bright. And so we're going to break it down. Here it is. Here are the official facts. TSA and ICE are funded under Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Budget fights in Congress can increase funding for one area like border enforcement and ICE, while other areas like TSA operations get delayed or disrupted during shutdowns. This is more about political priorities plus shutdown gridlock, not direct replacement. But you can't even make that argument, because right now it is pretty much direct replacement. ICE funding, listen to this, Larry, ICE funding has increased in recent years. More money has gone toward immigration enforcement, detention, and border operations. Too much focus on enforcement, not enough on infrastructure like airports. So if you guys ever want to know what is the difference, why are we having these issues, that is why, which leads us to the next problem we had. We had an airplane kerfuffle hitting a fire. I think it hit a fire truck or something like that at LaGuardia. Yeah. Now, Larry, when Trump first took office, like literally 2 days after, we had, what was the helicopter crash or the airplane crash? Who did he blame that on, Larry? Yeah, who did he blame that on?
Yeah, he blamed it on, well, the Democrats first off, but and then I think he blamed it on Hillary Clinton's emails, basically. But
no, he blamed Larry. He blamed it on
the air traffic controllers. Oh, on DEI, right?
On DEI. He blamed on DEI.
Because he tried to say it had something to do with the air traffic controllers getting through on DEI, even though the air traffic controllers, I think, who were working were white. But
exactly. So
I guess that didn't matter. But
this is a case of DEI, and for those of you that have been following me close, you know what I mean when I say DEI for white people. Didn't earn it. Take a listen to what happened. This ties right into the confusion going on at airports because folks ain't getting paid because Republicans are blocking it and are trying to sow division, just like Larry said. Here we go.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower, requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Stop, Truck 1, stop. Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000. Jet 646. Jet 646, I see you collide with a vehicle there, just hold position. I know you can't move. The vehicles are responding to you now.
Is the runway closed?
Delta 2603, go around, runway heading 2000.
Heading 2000, go around, Delta 2603.
Rhetoric Tower.
Truck 2, runway 4 is closed, correct?
Yes, go on to runway 4 now. Proceed on runway 4, you have access. Frontier 4195, I got the word that we're going to be closed for a little while. If you want to prepare to return to the ramp, let me know.
Yeah, we got stuff in progress for that, man. That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my stuff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier, and I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
So if you are good at detecting voices, none of those were black voices. As Charlie Kirk would say, he doesn't want his pilot to be black. If you're going to blame it on DEI, that's where you have to look at it. Now, of course, I'm joking. Let's get serious about this thing. The real culprit here, you heard at the very end, they are overwhelmed. They're completely overwhelmed. They're slammed, and it also sounds like there's some faulty equipment because that man clearly told that truck to stop. He clearly told him. He was screaming it, and nothing happened. This is more of living in Trump's America, where we're not taking care of the systems we already had in place because, yes, we need to be improving on things that are not working, but we also need to be continuing to evolve the things that are, not take away from it. Floor is yours, Larry.
Yeah, I mean, the whole air traffic controller system right now in the U.S. is just so broken. I mean, it's the people are understaffed, they're overworked. There are so many of them that have substance abuse issues because they're taking stimulants at work just so they can stay alert. You know, many of them are having all kinds of mental breakdowns and everything else. And on top of that, the system itself, the actual system is just old and antiquated. I mean, there's plenty of airports that are still using old punch card and paper strips instead of a modern air traffic control system. I mean, it's insane. And I watched a program a while ago where they had an air traffic controller that came over from somewhere in Europe, and they were looking at the system here, and they were like, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. They were like, this is stuff from like the 1950s. And
exactly.
But that's what they're using. And that person left saying, I don't understand how there's not more plane crashes every single day in the US. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. But when you have people that are overworked and departments and agencies and everything else that are understaffed, you end up with accidents. Yeah, I mean, it's an inevitability. You end up with accidents if they are responsible for safety and they're overworked and there's not enough of them. Something's gonna give, and what happens is plane crashes when it comes to air traffic controllers. So, I mean, there was just not long ago. I think it was just about a week or so ago. There was a near miss on the runway, and I think it was in what's the other airport? Not LaGuardia, the other one.
The other one in New York.
Newark.
Newark. Okay.
Yeah,
Newark. Okay.
There was a near miss over there because two planes were heading on to the same runway. I mean, that stuff happens all the time. I mean, they don't even talk about all this stuff half the time because they don't really talk about it if there's not an actual crash. But you know, there's all kinds of stuff where there's near misses. Somebody has to divert it last minute because they're trying to land and there's a plane already on the runway, or somebody coming in from the other side, or planes leave out at the same time and clip wings. All that stuff is things that are completely avoidable, except that you have way too many planes, way too few air traffic controllers, and the ones that you do have are overworked. I mean, you can't get people to work 12-hour days 6 days a week. And then they even get called in on their 1 day off because somebody else called in sick. It's just, and they won't fund them properly. You know, it's just the whole thing is just broken. And then when something goes bad, instead of just actually saying, okay, let's take responsibility for this and fix the problem. No, then you have people that want to say, oh, it's DEI. No, it's not. It's a problem. It's a problem with the system. First off, in order to get through the program so that you can even become an air traffic controller, it's a grueling program. And most of the people that enter that program quit before they finish. And then they get in there and they work for a year or two and they're just like, it's too much, I can't hack it, and they quit. And the reason why they can't hack it is because they're so understaffed.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
y'all
crazy.
let us know what y'all think, because this is nuts, man. Even just looking at the long lines, it's just like, who wants to get on an airplane right now? I know I certainly don't. You guys let us know what you think. It's a mess, but we still got more show to cover. We still got to talk about Trump calling Democrats the greatest threat to this country, when really it's him. The voter ID bill he wants to do. Fox News telling people to be patriotic and pay extra at the gas pump. But Larry, for some reason, they forgot to tell billionaires to be patriotic and give up some of those billions. They forgot to do that shit, okay? Right. So we've got all that coming, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get there, we do have a sponsor. Let me introduce you to Kalshi. Kalshi, ladies and gentlemen, is one of these new prediction markets. And I'm gonna just keep it 100 with y'all. Fuck all that prediction market talk. This is gambling. It's just that it's more expanded beyond sports. This lets you gamble on who's going to win an election. It lets you gamble on who's going to win the Oscar next year. It lets you gamble on news stories. You can even gamble on where you think the stock market is going. They give you percentages and odds very similar to those who like to bet on football and sports gambling. You can do certain parlays. There are a lot of things you can do with this. And if you go down and check the link in my video description, it is March Madness time. You can go ahead and bet on who you think is going to win the NCAA championship. They will give you $50 free to test out the service. You just got to go in there and sign up. Check my link in the video description. Please check out Kalshi. Larry, we're going to get to this gas thing. But before we do, Iran decided to troll Trump. You know, Trump had a nickname. They called him Taco Trump. But ladies and gentlemen, they've seen the way Trump loves to troll people with his fake AI and all that bullshit. So they decided to come up with one of their own to explain it to Trump as if he's an 8th grader, how things work at the Strait of Hormuz. Here we go. Larry, you think Trump could understand that? They basically telling y'all, no matter what you do, we controlled it straight. And Larry, before I give you the floor, let me read the facts to everybody again, the way we always do. Here is the straight up facts about the Strait of Hormuz and why it matters. 20% of the world's oil, 20%, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that know fractions, that's 1/5, passes through this one route. Let that sink in. All the oil There's a 20% of it that goes through this one route. Iran sits right next to and disrupts the traffic going through the strait, which is why they gave you that beautiful illustration. Even threats can slow down the stoppage of oil shipments. And me and Larry have sat here and told y'all how this not only affects oil, but it affects other things. Less oil supply equals higher global prices. Because if supply drops, price must go up. Gas prices rise in the US because oil is priced globally. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we don't just produce energy and give it to us. We produce energy and we put it on a global scale. America does it. Canada does it. Everybody does it. Last but not least, conflict makes shipping riskier. Prices spike even more. Now, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't just affect oil. It affects the things that deal with oil. Like Larry said, a camera lens right now went from $1,800 to $2,200. Why? Because every process along the way that requires transportation has gone up. Insurance is going up. The diesel has gone up. Diesel in California right now, Larry, is $7, and gas is like $5 a gallon in California right now because of this buffoon and this bull jive. So, Larry, when you see them trolling Trump like this, and I don't know if anybody paid attention to the news. I trade stocks every day. It was bad early in the morning, and then all of a sudden everything went up green like a Christmas tree. And the reason was because when Trump got trolled by this cartoon they did showing him who controls the strait, he all of a sudden decided, well, we're not going to bomb Iran's energy facilities. We're going to kick that down the road. And the markets start lighting up with glee. Floor is yours, Larry.
It's funny because some of the other, he's got some pressure from some of the allies in the region too, because some of those oil facilities are joint ventures with other countries. They're not just Iranian ventures. There you have, Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Some of them are joint ventures, especially when it comes to like liquid natural gas. Some of those facilities, I mean, they've had to shut them down because of the bombing, because it's just like, I mean, you have one of those things go up, and I mean, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars that are down the drain, and you have to rebuild that stuff. But it's just it drives the price up for everything. And for those people who don't know, I'm sure most people still already know this, but the vast majority of products in this country still move via trucks. Stuff may get moved around on trains here and there. Some stuff may come in on planes, but the vast majority of stuff gets picked up from trucks at a port and then driven to its final destination. And if truckers have to pay more in gas, then the companies that are hiring them have to pay more, which means we get passed along all those costs, which means our prices, my lens that used to be $16.99 is now $21.99. Which is ridiculous. And it's just, I mean, it's like that with a lot of stuff, not to mention just our own regular gas prices. And if you're a billionaire, you don't care because you're not paying. If you go to the pump and it costs you $50 today versus now, tomorrow it costs you $70. If you're a millionaire or a billionaire, you don't care about that. I mean, maybe you notice it, but you don't really know. It's not like you're affected by it. And that's, and that's part of the problem is that there's so many people in this country that are in power, or people have proximity power that are isolated from that problem, and it really needs to get to a point where everyone sort of feels the pain equally, because then a lot of stuff stops. It's sort of like
Larry, that's a great point you just made. That's an excellent point, which segues into the other piece of this story. As you talk about people needing to share pain, Fox News has decided that the people that need to share pain, Larry, are not the billionaires, but the same old regular working Americans that get fleeced by billionaires each and every day. Take a listen at who's supposed to be patriotic.
As far as the oil prices, people just need to stop panicking. It's worth it to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So if I have to pay a little bit more for gas, I'll do that.
You got to pay the price. I mean, in order to have long-term stability.
The disruptions in the global markets are real and may be painful. But the long-term benefits, again, are incalculable.
There may be some sacrifices to be made at the pump on a temporary basis. I'm willing to pay 30% or 30 cents more at the pump to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
To win in life, you got to suffer short-term pain for the long-term gain, or short-term pain for long-term gain.
Freedom is not free. Americans are going to have to make some sacrifices.
This is short-term, and I'm asking you to just trust the man, okay? Trust the system. Let him cook.
Let him cook? He's not a point guard on a heater. He's a 79-year-old man.
Larry, you know this bothers me because this is the same white guy speak I've been hearing my whole life about pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And if you work hard, don't take no vacations for a little while, you will prosper. All that hocus pocus, alamigocus shit. When it's not true, they forget to tell you about nepotism. They forget to tell you about insider trading. They somehow casually forget to tell you when you're connected to power, you get to use some of the power. They don't tell you none of that shit. How much more are you going to ask the American people to suffer? How much more? When at the end of the day, we are not going after the people that really should be paying the bill, the billionaires and millionaires. Because Larry, I saw the statistic last week. The top 100 richest people in this country have more wealth than the bottom 60% of the nation. And Larry, let me tell you how most of them got wealthy. Because the way most of them got wealthy, Larry, is a damn pyramid scheme. They siphoned all the money from everybody on the bottom, which has elevated them from the top. And that bull job of trickle-down economics has never trickled down to nobody. It was a scam. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, your patriotic duty is to put pressure on your lawmakers to start getting these billionaires and millionaires to bend over, bend the knee, as the Khaleesi would say, and start forking over the money for the deficit they have created. Floor is yours, Larry.
You know, they've been doing this for a long time. And the thing is, it to me, I always feel like this sort of stuff is so short-sighted and dangerous because you end up with a weaker populace, which makes the country itself vulnerable. I mean, if you have a country like China that has billions of people, you know, if they decided they want to come and attack, I mean, we have a population that's like, I think it's something like 60% of our population is obese and have all kinds of health issues and mental health issues and everything else. People are not ready to fight. They're not trained to fight. They're not, you know, mentally ready or capable of fighting. And instead of saying, hey, let's make our populace better. Let's educate them. Let's make sure they're healthy. Let's remove all of these things that are making them, you know, sick or ill or fat or mentally, you know, weakened. Let's remove all of that stuff. They don't do it because to them, they just see that as another lever of power instead of realizing that what they're really doing is weakening the very people that protect them and their wealth. And
Exactly.
And eventually you make anything, including populations, so fragile, they will break. And or the other thing is that you make populations so strained that they then go after the billionaire class and the powered class, and then eventually they go after you and they kill you. And they take what's yours and they redistribute it. We have seen this throughout history time and time and time again. I mean, people get all upset about Marxism and communism. Communism was a direct result of the Russian czars basically just just looting and killing the Russian people. I mean, every time you have something like when you look at Cuba and you look at Castro and all this stuff is a direct result of the powers that be not respecting the general populace and hurting them, keeping them sick, keeping them hungry, keeping them without any hope. Eventually, people just say, you know what? I can't live like this anymore. And then they take it to them and they start saying, you have no place here anymore. You can't claim to be a patriot when you don't love the very people that make up this nation. And therefore, you have to go. And that's what, and either they are either going to recognize that and they are going to decide to support the American people, or they're going to end up being taken out because eventually they're going to try and do even more to us and more to us. And then it'll be a breaking point. I mean, right now, you have so many people out there that are of this generation that's coming up that have no hope in so many areas of life. You have the majority of these people that are of these young folks that are coming up, that are coming out of college, that realize, hey, we were told to go to college and get a degree, and that's our way to prosperity. And they're saying that's not the case. So you spend all these years trying to become smart, do all this work and do all the right things, do all your community service, play sports and join clubs that you may not have necessarily wanted to do so that you can pad your resume so you can get to the best college you could, so you can get a degree only to come out and find yourself as a waitress, and then you end up in a situation where these kids are coming up, they have no hope of buying a home. Most of them have just said, that's not a part of my plan because I don't see any viable financial, path to doing that. You have these hedge funds and corporations buying up single family homes so people can't afford it. And then you have, you have people, we live in a majority single society because we have this crazy dynamic between males and females. And it's just, there's so many areas of life where people don't feel a sense of hope. And once you have so much of that, people totally give up and your society just starts to wither, or people get angry and they fight back. And then when they have to fight, they're going to start to look towards those people who have and those people who are holding them back. And people think they can run. Maybe that some of them can run and go off to some country somewhere and they could transfer their wealth to Bitcoin or something, but their hard assets here are going to be taken. If they don't if they're lucky, if they get away, because some of them might not get away. Some of them might get killed. It has happened. It has happened time and time and time and time again in countries all over the world.
And I'll get to put a pin on Larry's point because it was a great one. The biggest example of everything Larry just said, folks, and you're probably overlooking it, is the founding fathers that came here and left the Queen. That's the biggest example of folks who got tired of persecution from the kingdom. They got tired of taxation without representation. They got tired of religion taking over the kingdom. So you know what they did? They came here. It was supposed to be looking and fishing for the Queen, but when they got here and saw how they could take over and saw all this, they decided, you know what, fuck that bitch. Fuck her. We keeping this for ourselves. And that's exactly what Larry's talking about. So y'all let us know what you think. Post your comments. We got to keep fighting, people. We got to keep fighting. The next issue Trump is trying to screw the American people on is voting. Now, the issue with voting has always been, we've got too many states that don't have a large enough population affecting the states that really have a population. That is why we've got so much fucked up shit that the American people don't want right now in the first place. There is no reason, ladies and gentlemen, that Iowa should have the same amount of senators as California. There is no reason, folks, that we should still be on an electoral college system for the president. The fate of this country has been screwed twice by that. Twice. Where the popular vote won, but the electoral college bull job ultimately put the president in office. And so here's Trump trying to do even more damage to voting, restricting voting even more, because he's got y'all thinking that this voter ID bill is something that is actually good. Take a listen to him.
So I'm tying Homeland Security into voter identification with picture and proof of citizenship in order to vote. And those two items are the most important thing having to do with Homeland Security. So it should be part of the Homeland Security bill. And I'm requesting that the Republican senators do that immediately. You don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus, okay? Make this one for Jesus. That's what I tell them. That would be a damn good thing.
Larry, the fuck? Make a voter ID bill for Jesus? Like Larry, come on, man. Like, I can't make this stuff up. Look, all that whole speech, and then you put an exclamation mark on it called "Make it for Jesus." Man, let me give you. Larry, I'm gonna give you the floor, but let me give you the facts. These are the facts on the voter ID bill. This is why the Democrats are saying it's bad. This is why the Republicans want it, and what it actually is. And then the floor is all yours, Larry. Democrats say it could make it harder for someone or some people to vote. Republicans say stops non-citizens from voting. What it actually is in it requires proof of citizenship, like a passport or birth certificate. Now, Larry, before I'm gonna have to just explain to people who don't know any better why that hurts and who it hurts. That majority hurts Black people and women. And the reason being, there are a lot of old heads who back in the day, due to racial ties, segregation, do not have birth certificates. They don't have it. And they can't get it. For whatever the reason, they call their state representatives and they just tell them, you know what, you've been paying taxes all this long, don't even worry about the shit. And Trump and these guys know that. So that's why they want to sneak that in there. Let's go on down here to the next one. Many Americans don't have access. Well, that's what I just said. They don't have access to the documents. The Republicans protects alleged election integrity. What is actually in it? Changes voter registration requirements nationwide because they know a lot of people are not going to be able to get those documents because the United States didn't get the documents for them when they was fucking born. Okay, come on, y'all. Could slow down or block voter registration drives. Republicans lie and say it prevents fraud, even if it's rare. What's actually doing? Adds new rules for registration and maintaining voter rolls. Another hurdle to voting. Now, they tax the shit out of you. So voting should not be this hard, and it ain't really, but they're making it that way because they don't want people to show up. Next, seen as a way to reduce turnout, Republicans say only citizens should vote. What it really doesn't automatically give people documents. They must provide them. And last but not least, trying it to fund is seen as political pressure. Republicans forces action on election security. What it really is, some versions tie the policy to must pass funding bills, which you just heard Trump say, so I ain't making this shit up. Didn't you just hear Trump say that, Larry? He's tying this to DHS and all these other TSA and all these other organizations. He's using it as a cudgel to fuck over the American people. Now the floor is yours, Larry. I just wanted folks to know the facts.
You know, there is a long, ugly history that we have in this country of trying to deny people the vote. And it started off with the rich, wealthy class trying to deny white males that the vote. It used to be you can only vote if you are a land-owning white male in this country. And then they removed the land-owning thing so any white man could vote. But you couldn't vote if you were a woman. And then you had the whole thing with women wanting to be able to vote and minorities being able to vote. And then they would say, oh, you have to have an ID, or you have to have a poll tax, you have to pay a poll tax, or you have to take a test. All these different barriers to try and keep people from voting. And one of the things is Republicans know that if they can keep people from voting, that they can continue to win. But if the more people who vote, the less likely they are to win elections. It's just that because most people in this country do not agree with their whack-ass, insane, anti-American politics. And
Larry,
and that's what it is.
To your point, Larry, the other thing that they do, because they know that the more intelligence a person has, the more they lean left. Floor is yours again. So that's why they're trying to kill education in the schools.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing too is that, you know, when it comes time to needing an ID of a particular type so that you can vote, they will do everything they can to prevent people from getting those IDs. Like in certain states, when they passed the voter ID laws, what they did was they went, I think this was in Alabama or Mississippi, one of those two states down there. They closed every DMV in black neighborhoods and black areas so that people could not just go. Like for me, I have like 3 DMVs and, you know, like a 10-minute drive or something. I live in a very white neighborhood, but I could tell you if I lived in a black neighborhood, they would close all of that or they wouldn't exist in the first place. I would have to take a full day off of work and go to drive all the way across town to try and go get an ID. And then they're going to get there and they're going to say, oh, sorry, you're missing this. You're missing that. Come back another day. They would do everything. And they've done this. These states have been sued because they have done this. Now, if you think that somehow they're going to say you need a federal ID, you need a passport, or you need a passport card to be eligible to vote, because that's what it is. The feds are going to have to say to verify your citizenship. Right now, all the election stuff is handled by the states. And I don't understand why the Republicans are not up in arms screaming their fucking hearts out about states' rights right now. Why are they not up there screaming their minds out about states' rights? And instead, they're just quiet as birds, just saying nothing. Just quiet as a mouse, just up there, just, ooh, I don't have anything to say because Trump said it. It's absolutely just, they are so ridiculous, transparent that they just, they care nothing about actual American values and standards. What they care about is power. And that is it. They do not care about the Constitution. They do not care about American values. And people are seeing that. People are seeing that, and I hope to God that the Democrats stand firm and they just simply say, we don't care if the government is shut down for the rest of until you're out of office in order to prevent this from happening. It's not going to stop the elections. The elections aren't handled by the feds. The elections are handled by the states. And people like Trump likes to sit up there and say, oh, I'll have to cancel the elections. You can't cancel the elections because the elections are handled by the states. The states would have to cancel the elections. The governors would have to cancel the elections. And I can tell you right now, if you are a white person in Kentucky or Ohio or Pennsylvania and your governor cancels your election, you think those MAGA people are going to be supportive when they basically said, wait a minute, this wasn't supposed to affect us? You know, I think there's one thing. It's one thing when somebody says, hey, I know he said we weren't going to war, but we're going to war, whatever, you know. But when they get their right to vote taken away, I think they're going to feel differently about that. When they get treated, basically, when they get treated like a nigga, they're gonna feel differently about it because they're going to be like, wait a minute. These laws were intended to make sure black people couldn't vote. These were laws intended to make sure that Tyrone and Jefferson and Willa Mae and Laquita, that they don't have their birth certificates, they can't vote. Now you're telling me that you want to take my right to vote away because you're canceling an election? It will change the way they feel. Hopefully it never gets to that point. Because I think once you get to the point where you're canceling elections, I think that violence is the only next step. Because the reality of it is that elections is, for lack of a better phrase, voting is violence by peaceful. It's political violence by peaceful means. Because once you take away the right for someone to exercise their power as a citizen peacefully, then the only way for them to exercise said power is through violence. And voting allows people to exercise their political power peacefully. So if you take that away, there is no other option. The only other option left for people at that point is violence. And I hope it doesn't come to that.
And to Larry, you make a great point. We want to hear what you guys think about that. Larry mentioned in there about the Democrats and what they're doing. Well, Trump ran his mouth today and said that the Democrats are the greatest threat to this nation. And you want to know something, Larry?
What's that?
I agree with them, and I'll tell you why after this.
If you are ever wondering why most political violence in this country comes from the right, look at what Donald Trump posted this morning. Now with the death of Iran, not true, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Yes, the party that wants universal health care, equality for all people, kindness, empathy, and respect, not having a self-dealing president and his children, mixing business with official government jobs. And look, you look at this and it looks crazy, right? But everyone in the MAGA and the right world media ecosystem gets that type of content all day long. It's negative stuff about trans people. It's negative stuff about Democrats in general. They hear this constantly, and then they see the President of the United States calling Democrats, like me, the greatest threat to the country. This is partially why there is so much right-wing political violence in this country. And before you start saying, Latifah, look it up. Google the studies. Look at the numbers. It's overwhelmingly from the right. They're also the ones with all the pew-pews, don't forget. And look, we've dealt with this idiot for a decade now, and people are sort of desensitized. But that's a really serious and a really dangerous thing that he wrote. Now, I know MAGAs are going to laugh at it, and they're actually going to believe it. But what a nightmare in this country that millions of people actually believe that their fellow citizens are the biggest threat to the country? This is how they keep the cult together. Because without this, they know they're going to lose by even more, so they have to demonize the left. Because everything they're doing is failing right now. Nothing is good right now. Nothing Donald Trump has done is working. So what do? They attack us.
Yeah. Larry, everything he said is true, but I will contend Democrats are the threat to this nation. And let me tell you how, Larry, because they are not stopping this buffoon. Democrats could have put guardrails in place before we got Trump. Trump is really the threat. And Democrats are supposed to be the resistance. But instead of being the resistance, it seems like they just lay down and turn into steps for him to just step on. And I will never forgive the Biden administration and Merrick Garland, because them allowing us to get Trump again is why we're in this mess too, along with some other presidents. You know, I'm not just going to throw it on them, but Merrick Garland had everything we've seen coming from those Epstein files. So the Democrats have played a role in being a threat by allowing the threat to fester, to grow, to become what it is today. Now, the real homeland terror in America is white nationalists. Overwhelmingly, the last 5 mass shootings in this country have been by white dudes. Last 5. FBI had white nationalist terrorism as the #1 threat to America like the last 8 years. And to actually go out and tell people that your political opponent is really the threat to America with your dumbass base, where we have seen people believe Hillary Clinton got children locked up in the pizza basement and they go up there and pew the place, got to get arrested, where we've seen people who are in the Republican Party go after Charlie Kirk. Come on, man. Stop it. You know who the threat is. It is you, and you just project everything that you're doing wrong onto somebody else all the time. You get last word, Larry, then we up out of here.
It's just funny that the party who claims to be about personal responsibility and family values has neither. I mean, they just have neither. There's so many of them.
Then they blame everything on everybody else. Where's the personal responsibility in that shit?
They blame everyone for everything. They live some really ugly, perverted, disgusting lives. I mean, but that's what happens. I think sometimes people get up there and they want everyone else to live by those standards except for them. I mean, the reality of it is that these people need to go. And I'm not saying that they need to be killed. I'm saying they need to be removed from political power. They need to be removed. Right. And we need to have good, honest, solid politicians in there. And maybe that's an oxymoron to say an honest politician. And I believe on both sides. You know, I think there used to be Democrats and Republicans who both had the best interest of the country at heart. And now it seems like on one side that they just want power and they want to have their little white ethno state. I mean, but when you look around, that is not America. I mean, maybe you had that back in the 1800s, maybe even in the early 1900s, but today you don't have that. America looks different because America is different. And we need representation that understands that, accepts that, and embraces that. Because until we do, America is going to be at a weakened posture. Like, I don't think people understand how weak America is right now. The rest of the world looks around and they're seeing it. They're seeing America as vulnerable. You know, like I said before, I don't understand why China hasn't already taken Taiwan. When I see how weak America is right now, I would have gone. I would be there already. If I was Xi Jinping, I would be there right now. TSC, what is it? TMC or TCM or whatever, the chip maker. That would already be a
Taiwan Semi.
Yeah, that would already be a state functioning company. It would be a complete takeover already. I mean, I don't understand why he's not there. Who's going to stop him? We're not. We're not going to stop him.
You sure ain't. And
we are definitely not going to stop them.
We need a changing of the guard, and we need you guys to stay informed. You can come arm yourself on my channel. And I've just got to say this, y'all, because YouTube has screwed me and Larry several times. Several times. And they're at it with me again. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you all are new to my channel because over the last 4 weeks, I figured out a way to increase not only my watch time, my hours, my subscribers, my revenue. I figured out a way to do that. And just as my momentum is building, just as things are just taking off like a rocket ship, YouTube pulls and gives me a copyright strike for something that was on my channel for 10 seconds from 2021. And when YouTube gives you copyright strikes, ladies and gentlemen, they quit distributing your content the way they did when the algorithm was on fire. Now, mind you, this has happened to me and Larry several times. I know it's happened to me twice. I think it's happened to Larry 3 times. And
still happening.
This is the bull job we're talking about. It's almost as if they don't want you to get your message out there. And I'm not going to say it's a black-white thing, even though it feels that way. If you ever look around and you look up and see what creators dominate the land sphere, it's definitely not a whole lot of blacks that are true to being black, if you feel me. And so for the next about 90 days, I really need y'all to turn on your notifications, because me and Larry just did this show last week, and that show had over 400 people watching. Tonight, I'm back to 12. And so for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be in the doghouse. And in order to get my content, you've got to make sure you got your notifications on. So please turn them on. If you really want to get some questions or some deep thoughts in here, don't be afraid to super chat. I'll leave a link for Larry's content in the video description. Don't forget to like the video, comment, and subscribe. Till that next Sexy as Hell video where you guys will see me and Larry, could be very soon. We're out.
Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body. Somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body.